I think before just going and trying, I'm more of a person, but I genuinely feel that if you feel you're caught up, that if the certain, not even content writing, if any kind of field is the one for you, you need to target certain courses first and then figure out if you have a knack for it, or just get a professional experience. For example, when I just graduated, I knew I didn't want to be an architect. I kind of made a category of five things that I'm interested and maybe I'm good at. So content writing, marketing, art direction, and all those. I had a list, and I kind of targeted one course on Udemy, and Coursera. Those free courses, those they hardly require that big of a money. You can apply to financial aid on Coursera and get those courses for free. Also, it's just a 15-day patience period that you have to wait. And I kind of did one course for each category that I was interested in. And then, when I did that course, I got a professional insight also that, okay, if I'm doing something like this is what my day will look like. And naturally, I cut, like, out of the five that I'd selected, three just got organically cut. And hardly it took me like 5 to 7 days to do that course. So I feel that when you do course or you just do a 1 month of internship that field, even if you don't get paid, you get an insight on how your next 5 years are going to look there.
Okay.
And that's when
Thing which I want to ask you about yourself, how it started, how little bit from college background to the time you are right now. Over up to you.
Yeah. So I was this typical bachelor's of architecture student, in the journey for 5 years. And it was an overwhelming one. Imagine doing your bachelor's for 5 years. People get their masters and everything done in 5 years. So it was quite, and architecture is a very intensive, like a time intensive sort of a pursuit. You have to, kind of give everything to it. So it started with that. It started with a very conventional architecture, working in a firm, working in a studio, doing all those plans, elevation sections, getting approvals and everything. And later I realized while doing my internship and some part of my job that, I don't really like that. First things first, I am also not very good at it. And the next was also the fact that I'm good at something else. I love architecture. It's just that I love it in different ways. So, and at the same time, when you're just graduating, you don't have that me what is being told कि मुझे job करना है या I have to do the 9 to 5. That is basically so much in your head that you can't think beyond it. But I started working with a real estate developer company called Godrej Properties in Vikroli. That's when I realized that there is a communication gap when it comes to how the real estate industry speaks to the consumer or speaks within themselves. So there's a lot of communication gap because we are very good at our technical skills, but we're just not good at our spoken skills or written skills or something like that. That's when I realized that I had an upper hand in that case. Maybe I was not good at plan elevation section, but I had an upper hand when it comes to communication and putting it verbally or in a written format. And that's when it struck me that let's give it a try. So the try was basically free, because if you want to do something new, it's always like, okay, you can do this, but we won't pay you for it. So it was just like, there's COVID already, nothing's happening. I'm not even graduating. I'm not even an intern. I don't know what am I exactly. So it started that, okay, at least give me the opportunity. It's fine if it's free. So I started doing
So
it
which
for
year
free.
you graduated?
2020, the year.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The year when everything was crazy. So I started with 2 months of not getting paid for anything that I'd written so far. And I was not good also. So it's fine if I was not getting paid. I upskilled. Then after 3 months, that's when I got my first pay, which is a post I did on LinkedIn also, that I got 1,500 rupees for writing 15 articles, which is 100 rupees for writing a 800-word article. And since McWheel is a recruiting firm, I know you terrible those price points are. But that was where I got to learn a lot. So I'm not the kind of person who's going to equate an experience with the money. If I'm getting the learning in the initial stage, I'm like, it's fine. And actually, that experience helped me upskill 10x, 50x, 100x now. So it all makes sense. At that point of time it didn't, but then slowly gradually things started growing. I started getting clients, and mostly by word of mouth, because my industry, real estate industry, is still a very word of mouth industry. The other industries are still into LinkedIn
Hmm.
lead generation, social network and all that, but ours is still a very word of mouth industry. So that became like a good thing, that, oh, word of mouth wise I'm getting more work. And then 2 years, 3 years later now, I have a team of 10 writers who are architects and writers themselves. So, we kind of have this thing where we only recruit the people from the AEC industry, which is architecture, engineering, and construction, just to kind of give the industry a boost. And yeah, this is where we are so far.
So you mentioned the one thing which I noticed from I have a questions in that. You said you figure out like you didn't like a conventional job. You said, or probably when you
Yeah.
landed up. How you figure out that you don't like it? What was the point?
So I've always been quite ambitious from the start. Always
Okay.
love to work. Work for me is not something that I'm like, oh God, I have to do this. I get very excited that I get to work. Having that opportunity to work itself is like a big thing in today's,
Hmm.
unsettling time. But
Hmm.
when you are so passionate about working, but you just don't enjoy what you're doing, that's when you know that this is not for you.
Hmm.
Started with the thought that I am not AutoCAD drafting. Is it the software that I hate, or is it just the whole architecture industry that I hate? And that's when
Hmm.
I realized that no, it was just the software, the technical part, that segment I hated. I loved architecture because after that, taking architecture was my own self decision. I come from a family where my father is a doctor. So, when you have a doctor in a family, it becomes like a legacy thing that your child, and then it's going to follow. So, architecture was a very rebellious decision. So, I was just like, if I've been so headstrong about architecture, which means I love it. It's just I don't love this side of it. And then I started figuring out what are those segments that I actually love and I'm good at. It's not just
Okay.
something, because love, if you love something, make it a hobby, but you need to, if you are good at it, that's when you can turn it into a business and something
Hmm.
that is profitable.
Hmm.
So both of these things sort of collided with writing, and that's when that blend happened.
So you said like you can turn it into a passion, like a business, your passion. So is it something that you mentioned writing was the skill that you had before, or you just tried your hand into it just for doing it different way, taking your career in a different way? Was it your skill, the content writing, or like you just tried another format of architectural career to take ahead with?
So I've been a reader my whole life, my entire summer vacations, where I used to read one book, one novel in 24 hours, like reading 250, 300 pages in 24 hours. That's pretty much, I'm a very fast reader and I love to read. You give me anything, it could be related to anything, I will read it. I've been a reader, but I had, if reading, just because you're a good reader, you can be a good writer. I
Hmm.
always thought these are different school of thoughts. You cannot have expertise in one area and then say that I'm good at the other. So
Hmm.
one of my friends, when I was in third year, told me that there's this new thing that people are creating WordPress blogs.
Okay.
And I said that, who's going to do that, this and that. He said that at least, and I am very petrified, like, of judgment and everything. So I was like, people are going to judge me. Should I do this? My friend actually told me that, so what, you'll get judged, you'll improve, na? So I had another friend of my batchmate, his name is Hriday, and he went to Bombay Scottish School. So
Hmm.
all the who live in Bombay, that going to Bombay Scottish is
Got
a
it.
big deal. So I
Correct.
always got my grammar checked from him and one of my other friend Mrinal. So always. So the blogs were nothing related to architecture, just the fact that I wanted to write, and I got at that point of time I didn't even which could have solved a lot of problems for me, but I had no clue grammar. They became my Grammarly instead, and it started growing from that. So I've always been a writer, is what I've realized. But I think that is not enough. You have to be technically sound as well, which
Mhm.
started slowly as I started upskilling, doing courses and all those things. And yeah.
So I wanted to understand the transition, like people there are people who are still content writer or probably are willing to be a content writer. So you have figured out it, and you have figured out that okay, I want to, or probably you liked it doing what you're doing. So if somebody is still in a phase they are confused, I should pursue it or not. Because ultimately everybody who is looking out to pursue something is eventually looking out, a good amount of success, or probably a good thing, because they are eventually thinking about that thing consciously. So if somebody is in a doubt, I should go with content writing as a career, or let's say a hobby. What is the point that you can mention for them is something they can figure out at that moment, and they can decide either they want to go ahead or not? Or do you think you should go and try? What is your call on that?
I think before just going and trying, I'm more of a person, but I genuinely feel that if you feel you're caught up, that if the certain, not even content writing, if any kind of field is the one for you, you need to target certain courses first and then figure out if you have a knack for it, or just get a professional experience. For example, when I just graduated, I knew I didn't want to be an architect. I kind of made a category of five things that I'm interested and maybe I'm good at. So content writing, marketing, art direction, and all those. I had a list, and I kind of targeted one course on Udemy, and Coursera. Those free courses, they are hardly require that big of a money. You can apply to financial aid on Coursera and get those courses for free. Also, it's just a 15-day patience period that you have to wait. And I kind of did one course for each category that I was interested in. And then, when I did that course, I got a professional insight also that, okay, if I'm doing something like this is what my day will look like. And naturally, I cut, like, out of the five that I had selected, three just got organically cut. And hardly it took me like 5 to 7 days to do that course. So I feel that when you do course, or you just do a 1 month of internship that field, even if you don't get paid, you get an insight on how your next 5 years are going to look there.
Okay.
And that's when you
So
know that if this is for you or this is not for you.
okay, so you mean you listed out the things which you eventually want to do with, and then probably you just jumped into those areas either by through internship or doing courses, or taking a training profession. If you have an in-person somebody who can train you or give you an insight on that, and then you can probably decide like, okay, if you want to do it for longer life. So it's basically a picture that you want to do something for long time, long period, not just by seeing somebody, or probably get inspired by somebody. So that question is very
Yeah.
important, that throughout my day should look like, and I would enjoy this or not. That's how you
Hmm.
discovered your
Yeah. I mean,
things.
many times what happens is like people feel that being a marketer is thinking about these cool marketing campaigns all the time. But no, you have to do analytics, you have to study, you have to research and everything. And that is a very technical part. So only when you do a certain course from a credible place, you will realize the holistic thing that, okay, 360-degree wise, what am I getting? It's just that you sometimes you only see the 10% and you're like, okay, this is the perfect career, this is it for me. And then it's not. And also I feel that you need to think about 5 years at least. I had a 5 year plan. I was just like, if I take a career path, I want to be 5 years consistent in it. If it doesn't work for me, the sixth year I'm up to something else altogether. So I think in this fast-paced world, we need to target a certain 3 to 5 year of span to be consistent in one field. And there's no harm in changing if you feel like after a point it doesn't work. Yeah.
So I personally feel that if you're giving 5 years, that's somewhere around like 1500 or 1600 days to something. Eventually, if you are not good at that, probably you will become a somewhat expert. I think this is a good idea to look forward for a career. So do you suggest people, like, you graduated by 2020, like people who are there the nowadays, like students who are in college as well, they are pursuing content writing. What is the step that you would suggest? Like, they should start doing these gigs, or they should complete and then find their interest areas. Like, how your point would be on this?
See, there is no roadmap to it, but I feel that the fact that you can work with established writers as a junior and help them, assist them, collaborate. I think that would be one of the fastest way to know the profession. So I still work with many established writers as their junior writer, in spite of having a team of my own, because you get to know the theory part of it, you get to know the professional part of it, and I think mentorship is in a way a very good part to embrace that kind of an
Hmm.
information.
Hmm.
Also, courses simultaneously upskilling all the time. Maybe you hear something and you think it's the next best thing. So let me just search that course and let me just do it. I think there is so much data around today. Like
Hmm.
imagine before, how people used to upskill, you had to find a course, pay tons of money and go, but now everything is like literally a laptop click away, so it's
Hmm.
pretty much fine that. But yeah, mentorship is something that I really really put my faith on.
Okay, so how do you think one can find a good mentor or probably a good senior in the respective field, whatever they are doing? What is the best way you have figured out? Probably you would suggest.
Yeah. So initially, what I had this myth about mentors was that you just approach tell them that, hey, can you be my mentor? That was as naive as I thought it was, and later on I realized that it is not how it happens. You can't just ask people. I figure out that you can target those people. Maybe it could be a senior at work, your HOD at the college, or it could be during your work experience, a friend much more knowledgeable than you and can assist you with that. So I think it takes time, it takes years to figure out who that right person is. And I realized I have targeted 3 to 4 mentors as of now in my entire life, in overall 5 6 years of journey. They know that they are my mentors, but we haven't verbally discussed that you are my mentor. It's
Okay.
just that I ask them and they're just there for me. So it has been a very sustainable relationship that has been cultivated over time, but you need target those people and have a genuine regard for them. And I think mentorship also works two ways, which people, like for example, even today I get DMs that, be my mentor or something like that. You're not going to entertain that, but if somebody is there in my team and they need help with something, obviously going to be there for them no matter
Hmm.
what. So I think mentorship is a very slow kind of a process, and it's a very responsible one also. You cannot just have a very extracting point of view from your mentor that I'm going to be there no matter. So I think that is important, figuring that out and picking those right people who can take you in the right direction.
Okay. So do you think the LinkedIn, a kind of these portals will help you to find out such people who can probably not mentorship, but probably can give you a idea for a once or while? Is it something which happened with you anyways?
So LinkedIn, so far I haven't found my mentors on LinkedIn particularly under that niche, but I've got a lot of help from LinkedIn. But I'll tell you how to do that. The thing is, now Vanchika Mehta is something, she's like, I like her. I like her as a person and how she conducts herself and everything. So I
Hmm.
sent her a very comprehensive text where I picked what I love about her, what I really like and
Hmm.
everything. And that's why I have this pressing issue, and that's why I felt that you're the perfect person to ask as a suggestion. And at the last, I wrote that there's no compulsion that you have to reply to me whenever you're free, and if you want to reply, please do. It's fine. You can send an audio or message. And she replied to me with a paragraph of a text.
Okay.
What many people get wrong about LinkedIn is that just because somebody is, and I get those DMs all the time, just
Hmm.
because somebody is a creator, you can't expect them to reply to your every text. Like there are texts where you get, hey, send freelance gigs. Hey, tell me how much you get paid. Hey, I need this advice. And then people just follow up. You haven't replied. You haven't replied. So if
Hmm.
you do all these things on LinkedIn, there is a code of conduct, and that you have to follow. And if you kind of follow, you do it genuinely, you respect somebody else's time, people will be more than happy to help, is what I've noticed. But mentorship, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, it has only been when people have become my clients, we have had of at least 3 to 6 months. That's when I have seeked their help for certain career advice or certain upskilling advice. So yeah.
Hmm. I think so. One question which is like we are talking on the point that where we have understood, probably we have understood about the process little bit in a mature way. But to be very honest, when we have to go back 2 years, or probably when you were starting, we probably would not sound this mature, or probably we did not have kind of understanding right now, so
Yeah.
if a person, अगर कोई ये वीडियो देख रहा है और probably वो भी ऐसे ही सोच रहा है जैसे कि what I have to do, probably how to figure out, what was that moment you were in when you realized that okay, this is something which I have to start? What was that one point that you decided, okay, let me give this time? Because eventually when we are into something, probably we are not we are just into something, we are not seeing it from the top of the view. So because of that
Mhm.
we miss out some certain things. So what was that moment, and the way you decided, okay, let me, how smartly you figure out this, And what was that emotional moment that you, because there might be many things that is happening, overthinking about the career and a lot many things. So how you decided this?
So the first 6 months actually saying yes to all kinds of work. When I say yes, literally meant yes to anything which is not even related to my niche. I was just happy that COVID is and I'm getting to work. It's fine. The payment is less. It's fine. So it started with that.
Hmm.
6 months, I realized that my professional conduct was not at par. When I say my professional conduct, which means sending invoices on time, following up for the invoices, or professionalism and having that upfrontness, with your
Hmm.
clients. And that's when I realized that, obviously when you're freelancing, there are clients who ghost you, there are clients who don't pay you and all those things. When those things started happening 2, 3 times, that's when I realized that it is not like I'm attracting those kind of clients. So I need to kind of now, buckle up and be a in this if I have to do this work. So that was the moment when I decided that no, this that I'm passionate and everything has to stop now to conduct myself in a certain way. Those good clients, those nice clients attracted to me, that kind of a thing. So that was basically the moment when I shifted the whole cycle.
Okay, so if we have to talk about those initial challenges when probably you wrote free, when you wrote for free, what was your mindset? You are saying that you said that, I was in a mindset, okay, don't pay me, but I am getting to learn. But probably this is something which we are discussing right now. Is it something so mature was that time as well? Because जब हम कर रहे हैं तो obviously there is expectation. So what is that that parameter you would like to address? Was it something that okay, because you cannot write in free for 6 months, 8 months, or go on so on. So how
No,
do you
absolutely.
see that phase?
Yeah, yeah. So my deal with free, I'll tell you what, I still do free samples for my clients. My deal with it is ki, till the point that I have upskilled enough and I can demand and I've shown my worth to the front person. Suppose that I'm out, then I'll
Okay.
demand.
Okay.
Once you show your client, what you bring to the table, the kind of sincerity and the kind of craft you bring to the table, the client would never want to let you go. So
Mhm.
I feel that once you show your worth to someone and then you demand, there is no way that no. So
Mhm.
basically, when I started working for free for the initial 2, 3 months, I gave all my sincerity. At the same time, I was not looking at the monetary gain, but the back gain was that organically my writing samples were getting developed at a
Mhm.
very higher stage in a very crisp manner. So those
Mhm.
samples I can use to pitch to other freelancing clients, right? So it was not a monetary. I think writing samples, reviewed them from the editor. Even that's like a willing thing for me, right? So after 3 months, when I had a good rapport with my editor, with a good rapport with the founder, 3 months later, I kind of asked them upfront that, what, I think I can be a good editor here. Do you want me to join in? And that's when I got like paid from that month onwards, basically that month on.
Mhm.
And I feel that you need to show your worth. You can't just start demanding when you have zero experience. I've kind of noticed this with many times when I hire also people that, we are not going to work under this thing. We are not going to work under this price point. But I'm like, but does your experience speak to that? And even if you
Mhm.
don't have an experience, do your staff speak
Mhm.
of that level? So, I think you need to make a self judgment if uh, you've reached that level of upscaling, and once you've reached, be so upfront in demanding that nobody can say no to you. Give them an offer that nobody can say no to you. I think that's basically the math that I've been doing so far. And still, when I get new clients, if they are hesitant, I'm just like, you know what, I'll do a short B sample for you, because there's a lot of thing going on that you're always supposed to do paid samples, and I know I'll get a lot of backlash on this one, but I genuinely feel that do a short pay, unpaid sample for them. It's fine. Show them your worth, that sincerity, and they will not say no to you ever. And I have had clients like as a free clients who have been with me for 2 years, 3 years, and it's not a very normal, very long retainership when you're a freelancer. But they're like family to me now. I know, they've had a child, somebody's getting married, so we have that kind of a bond now.
Correct.
So I think it's fine.
So, what was that feeling when you got paid, whatever you got paid for the first time, and how? How was that moment? You can you share with us, because it's a very important point. Somebody who's watching as a content writer who can just chase that moment. अच्छा ठीक है ऐसा भी एक दिन आएगा. Let's be focused on that one. So what was the moment? How was that moment for you?
I think no paycheck could ever equate the feeling that you felt when you get your first paycheck. I think no matter how small, big, it really doesn't matter. But I think I felt as if I am the richest in the world with 1,500 rupees in my bank account. And I remember, I was just like, I was ready to spend it all, but my mom sort of said that, like, stay down to earth, order McDonald's, that burger wala thing, and whatever, like those cheapest burgers we kind of ordered. So my mom has this supposed to only spend 10% of your income, and you're supposed to save the rest of it. And I still follow that.
Mm.
So I made the 10% math of what is of 1,500, and I ordered something of exactly that amount. It kind of has been a rule since then. So now I'm a bit scared to spend a lot also. So yeah, that is
Okay.
basically the experience.
Okay. How much you save now?
Yeah, no, I still save a see, freelancing is it's a roller coaster ride. If you are
Mm.
not good and wise with your finances, there are months where you'll be rewarded a lot, but there'll be low months. And there's no judgment, right? Maybe last year my July was good, maybe this year my September will be good, and March might not be good. So you have
Mm.
to be, as a freelancer, or as a freelancer, anyone for that matter, you have to be very careful, because these are very uncertain times. I pretty much save a lot of money, to be honest, and everybody has, like, it has become important after one paycheck. Yeah.
Okay, so you said it will take a time to actually get acquired with skill, having mentors, working for the free things. How was your first year? If you have to give me an idea, quarter to quarter, like when you started from there to 1 year, how that changed, how that shaped, and what was your continuous input to it? What was one thing that you were focusing on for first year?
So the first year, I think my first year was pretty, like, the graph was literally like, this, and then like that, like that, like that. So
Okay.
and that this like that started after 8 months. First, because first 8 months I was constantly upskilling, trying to gain as much as credibility as possible. When I say credibility, getting those good brand names who have a good repute of their own, so that when I pitch to other clients, I have certain credibility that, if this client has worked with you, you also might have some credibility. So the ones were pretty somber, I would say. There was no, like, it was 1,500, 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, that kind of a things were happening. That's it, nothing big. But I think after 8 months is when it actually started rising. And also the fact that I didn't know the exact tools on how to generate leads. That's when after 6 months, when I told you, I started doing it more seriously, where, first it was like, okay, I've got a client now, let me just work with him, put my
Hmm.
blood, sweat, and tears to realize that no, as a freelancer, you can't do that. You have to hustle all the freaking time. I
Correct.
started lead generating in a more serious way, and that's when it actually took off. And then, I needed support. I started delegating my task and everything. That's when it actually reached a very full-fledged point. But this is something that I still follow. That one of my mentors actually told me this earlier, that is his statement that always stays in my head. If you don't obsolete, remember to upskill all the time. The meaning of obsolete is, if you don't want to diminish after a point,
Hmm.
always remember to upskill. And the
Hmm.
second thing he told me was, when you have the most clients, when you have the nicest month, that's when you have to market yourself. Get that people just feel that, okay, I've reached a apex, I'm fine, and this and that, and then, the downside comes in. So he said that when you are at the topmost thing, just market yourself the most. Make sure that you're sustaining in the long term. Yeah, and
Okay.
that is pretty much I
So
follow till now.
I think that was quite interesting that you mentioned a point that it is similar to a quote. In order to be irreplaceable, you have to be relevant all the time. So that's the same thing
Yeah.
which I can relate here. I have a question which is probably not for everybody, but let me just ask you if you can just put an input on that. If somebody is doing this kind of content writing or probably this kind of freelancing gigs, and they found it attractive in a first year, or let's say after a year. But what if they're not finding it, that healthy for them? What is your call on that? Should they pursue it or try to, because it is, as you said initially, it was not software that I was not liking. Field was okay, but the software kind of work I was not liking. So if somebody
Yeah.
is doing for a year, let's say content writing part, or let's say this kind of freelancing part, and if they are not liking it, how probably they can, should they back out or should they change the way they are doing the same thing? How do you see?
So the foundational years are tough. I can guarantee you that you have to give it certain time. You have to give it 6 to 1 year to 2 years. It depends on how fast you're picking up. I have
Hmm.
seen people who have like 2 years of experience and they are charging equivalence to someone who has a 10 year of experience. And I've also seen the opposite. It is because it's a very a person to person kind of a situation, but you need to give it some point of time. I get this from a lot of people in my DMs that we've been doing this for 6 months, no result and this and that. But it is very tough in the foundational years, and once it picks up if you stay consistent. Also, there is a lot of burnouts, right? Because when you have a full-time job, somebody always takes care of bringing the lead generation to the company. You have a
Hmm.
very stipulated role which you have to work under. In At the end of the month, you're going to get paid no matter how much you work and everything. You have those contracts in place. With freelancing, that's not the case. You have to always keep on hustling to find the next client, and it can lead to burnout. So see, it also reflects the kind of lifestyle you like. If for
Okay.
example, as you as a person, you're someone who likes stability and you like the fact that I want my peace of mind. I don't want to constantly hustle. Then full time job is for you. But I am this crazy person who constantly wants certain amount of activity and adrenaline. I can't keep calm, and I'm always up to something. So then freelancing makes sense to me, because then when I tried doing a job, I was just like, oh God, this is boring me to the core. So it just depends on your persona. It is not something that is, there's no category or a rule. कि
Okay.
ये आपके, ये आपके. You need to figure out what kind of style and what kind of a speed you like and you're comfortable with, and then make it a call. Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's based on your highs, how you get highs on. If you are not getting highs,
Yeah.
probably you can change the way whatever you find it. Like
Yeah.
my common mistakes. Like, what do you think you have made a common mistakes while pursuing a career? And hello, you have been through in a career of content writing. What are the common mistake that you think content writers, so initial free, like content writer who are willing to be, they make,
Hmm.
and probably what you can probably suggest or make out a point that they can correct in an initial day so that they are not struggling for long years or long months.
Got it. So, as an architectural writer, one big mistake that I've done is I haven't taken my contracts that seriously in the initial years, which I realize now. So, my contract 6 months later after working, the contract was an A4 page one, and now it is a 10 page thing. So, because one experience kept on adding eight bad experience, eight clause bad gaya. So, I feel that you need to be very firm, and you need to be very, like your contracts have to be a very serious document that you take very seriously, and you communicate to your client that you have to read that goddamn thing and stick to it. So that, and at the same time being very clear about your business. In the end, we're doing this for our bread and butter. So you have to realize that passion and creativity can go up to a certain extent. You have to be very professional. I'm not saying that you have to be rude with your clients or something, but if you have said that you will raise an invoice by 26th of every month, you need to make it a point that it goes by 26th, so the client also knows that okay, this person means serious business,
Mm. Mm.
and all that. So that is one thing. And the third mistake, I would say that I started skilling when I started going down a bit. So I feel that you need to keep on upskilling as a practice. It is not some. It's as much as you're brushing your teeth every morning. You have to literally
Correct.
embrace it at that
Correct.
level. Yeah.
Correct. So like, I understood, like you made a point which is my favorite point, that you brush up every day, and that's basically in upskilling should be anybody you are, that I really like. So अभी ये जो question है, which is in general on an emotional gesture. How challenging this entire journey you think was till the time you didn't had good amount of recognition what you are doing?
Uh, it is very tough. Like there was this one post that went viral from this company that the founder 16 hours a day you have to. I am that person who agreed with that comment. I belong to that school of thought because I feel that in the initial years you have to put in the hours, and to put in the hours that doesn't mean that the work that you can do in 1 hour you have to spend 3 hours. I think I have put in the hours and I've put a lot of hours. Like there have been times when I've worked 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, and it has led to burnout. But it's just that those moves were necessary at that point of time. I don't look at them as something that, oh, I said, I've done this, that, anything. I think those moves are necessary. But I think right now, literally 3 months back, I felt that, I need to make a change in my lifestyle, the way that I'm living and, working from home and everything. So I said, now, after 3 months back, after doing it so long for 16 hours, 12 hours a day, where I kind of said that, I'm going to work Monday to Friday only. I'm going to work from a co working space now and not work from my home. When you work at your home, it never ends. You just, wake up, start working, go to sleep. It is like
Correct.
that. So
Quite
I
right.
see, I mean, I'm not the good person to give you sane advice because I have been through 100 burnouts at least, but I don't look at it as a negative aspect, because I love what I do. I genuinely enjoy it, but it is person to person because I have my certain team members where, one of my team member recently shared that, I'm going through a burnout and literally these thoughts are coming in my head. Can I just take a break? And I was just like, "Hey, yeah, just tell me this. It's okay like that." Otherwise, and my deal of dealing with all these things is like, what burnout? I'll just work on it. So, I think it differs from person to person,
Okay.
and you have to choose it. Yeah.
So now I think the burnout is quite new normal for you in order to have this because you love what you are doing. So anyways, like
No, I don't love it anymore.
I just heard a few days back from a video that Kunal Shah said that like people who are doing something and creating something, it is like a high for them. They put their head to wall and they enjoy it and they say like ठीक है फिर से मारते हैं, and that's basically you start enjoying
Yeah.
it, but then after a point of time you have that resources that you can just chill out for the time, and now probably you are in a state where you can just divert yourself for a little time and enjoy, or
Rightly. Yeah. Yeah.
probably
Hmm.
increase your productivity, because that's something which obviously burn out your productivity, because you take 1 hour a leave from the thing, probably you are 3 hour or 4 hour more productive in that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
But
that's
one
part.
thing that I didn't know earlier was that the art of delegation, I would say, is just that you realize that you can't do everything of everything. And just to have an awareness of this fact, because I've always been like this, I can do it on my own kind of a person. But I've realized that it's the most unhealthiest of the advice and unhealthiest of the lifestyle to have. So when you figure that, okay, there are some tasks that you can delegate to people you trust, who are good at, who are sincere, and whom you are remunerating on a very good level. SME,
Correct.
you're just delegating and getting them also on a burnout. It doesn't make sense, right? You're just
Correct.
passing out
Correct.
your burnout to somebody
To
else.
somebody
But I think,
else.
yeah, if you just figure that out, yeah, you're in good hands then.
So I think Abhi, the question is like best learning you think how, what are the best learning that you want to mention here? क्या क्या चीज आपने in general note पे correct करी throughout that as a individual as well as a process oriented and as a content writing career as well.
One thing I would say that when I started out with everything. I started with 8 disciplines at one time because I was figuring out, within content writing also there is so much different types of content writing. There's email, this, that, and you after a point you need to figure out what you're actually good at and what you want to focus on more. So I've started niching down now, is what I realized. Niching down slowly, really working on what my merits are, and slowly I've come to realize that every discipline has its own set of demand. It's better to be a subject matter expert rather than being a generalist. But again, this opinion has, it's mine. I don't think I've seen many writers who are generalists and can write on everything. But I think playing on your merits is what I've figured out. And also, as a writer, as an architectural writer, architecture as a discipline itself is very vast. dedicated to write on. So if you're not taking breaks, if you're not, building on your research, if you're not disconnecting from your connecting again, you are just going to deteriorate in quality.
Mm.
So these are the two things that I've figured out so far. Yeah.
I think the first part you said correctly, that being specific on what you want to do, or probably what you are good at, is helpful for anything, not just in content writing. Probably if a person is looking out to increase their individual productivity, so best to find out what specifics, what process you are specialized in. That's the best part, I think.
Yeah.
So what you will say the biggest mistake you have done so far, in general, as an individual and as an content writer?
In that I have always, in the initial stage, I always treated it as a passion, as a hobby. That hashtag love what you do what you like kind of a thing. And later I realized that no, if you're being a freelancer, you have to be very serious about the business part of things. Which coming from an architectural background, from a very creative background, it's not about how you're supposed to be an entrepreneur, how you're supposed to conduct yourself when it's about business, when it's about money. So I think that was the biggest mistake that I did, that I underestimated the people who are in front of me. And also, I took money very lightly. I took legalities, agreements very lightly, is what
Mm.
the biggest mistake I would say. Because, at the end of the day, if you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears, you get remunerated. So now, and I'll tell you how I've started fixing that mistake. There's one writer called Komal Ahuja. She's very great. You all should follow her. So she kind of said that she has these 5 questions on how she qualifies a client whenever a lead comes in. So that's when upfront you ask about money and what your budget is and everything. So I've started doing it now. And the clients who are supposed to fool you and everything, they just get filtered out organically, because they know that
Mm.
okay, this girl means serious business, we can't trick her. And I
Mm.
think that is what I want to tell a lot of young people, that you could be in a full time job, in a part time freelancing, whatever. Be very confident talking about money, discussing money, knowing what is your in hand, what is the distribution, and this and that. Be unafraid, like be upfront about it. People will appreciate it. Definitely not
Mm.
at the start, but be upfront, not rude. Again, I would say that. Yeah.
How to be a friend and not to be rude? Can you just uh, give me an idea?
Yeah.
Because still, people who are in the stage, they are figuring out. So they probably say what they feel when they
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
about to learn. So what is the funda of being a friend and not rude?
So this I figured out 6 months ago. So this is coming from person who has just figured out and who is known to be a very, like, having a sharp tongue. I'm known for that. I've lost clients because of that also, but it's fine. I have good ones now.
Okay.
So what I do is, first I used to ask me, how much are you going to pay me? That was a
Okay.
strong, angle to ask.
Mm.
But
Mm.
now how I ask is, what is your or what is the content budget that you have identified on a yearly or a monthly basis? So when
Okay.
you say that our marketing budget, our marketing budget is this much. So maybe 10%, 25%, 30% is the content budget, and maybe 10% of that is yours. So you can do the math, basic math. So you're asking about articulating your language rather than changing the core of it. You're asking about the budget. It's just that you're asking the bigger picture. And it also, for example, if you're on a full-time job, you can pretty much ask them that, what is the distribution, what are my bonuses, how will this be calibrated, what is my in hand. I just want to know this so that I can plan all my the future pursuits that way. It's just for me to help, so that we start on a very we start with clarity and on a clear note. So you're not lying, you're just saying, you're just putting it in a articulated way, I would say slightly diplomatic way, and you
Mm.
get your things done. That's
Okay.
basically has been my take.
So I think you said you have to be very smart while you're asking for the money, and probably not making people understand that you're asking for money. So that's basically a
Yeah.
probing skill which will work there. How good. So do you think it is something uh, which people can do from the starting, or probably एक दो client जाने के बाद पता चलेगा?
Um, I would not suggest this at the start, because I would suggest it as your sample speaks for itself.
Hmm.
Sample or your work
Hmm.
experience. Don't
Hmm.
have any work experience, but you've done very credible courses, and at the same time, you're very confident. And within your interview, you know that you've got this job. If you have that
Hmm.
stellar confidence,
Hmm.
then I think being slightly asking for clarity about money is a good thing, but
Good
asking
part.
for upfront upgradation, it
Hmm.
just like even when now when I get such applications and I'll tell you what happened. One incident that I said that I want you to write this short paid sample of 350 words or 500 words or something. You do it. After we see the results, we'll figure out if this is something that you can do for the long run and I can hire you. So then he
Hmm.
started asking that I want to know how much I'm getting paid. So I told him this is the payment, and
Hmm.
then like okay पूछ रहे हैं बता देती हूँ, and then it was like this is the payment, and said that no, I have heard that freelancers charge this much, I cannot take below this and that. I was like कि चलो let me see the samples that he sent, and he had no experience, zero experience, no samples sent, nothing, just a CV was sent to ask for a job, no credibility at all. And I just stopped that hiring at that point of time because it just irritated me, right?
Hmm.
Your samples don't speak for itself. I'm giving you a paid sample. You're not. Telling you that you need a paid sample. Let's figure out after that if somebody is giving you the benefit of thought. This puts off people. You need some merit to just bang on and ask for that. Is what I feel. And
Okay. So
initially, if you start doing it, it just rubs you in the wrong way.
okay. So I think you're trying to say that अगर आप कुछ product रख रहे हो या service दे रहे हो, so when you find the value of it, then only ask for money. Otherwise, just
Yeah, I mean,
showcase
for
it.
example, yeah, like for example, you're a finance student. Maybe you did a financial modeling course and you prepared a model of that company that you want to apply for. And
Hmm.
then, people are like, oh, she prepared for this company, she prepared a financial model. It could be the most worst made model ever, but you made an effort. I think that
Correct.
counts.
Hmm.
This
Okay.
is what I mean. Yeah.
Abhi, the very last question of the podcast is somebody who is content writer, somebody who wants to pursue this as a full time career. What are the things like they can focus on to find the projects? क्या तरीका है, क्या tools है, वो कैसे find out कर सकते हैं?
Firstly,
Once they are little bit having a good experience in writing.
Acha, okay, they have an experience. So maybe what you can do, LinkedIn is the best way to network if international clients are your agenda, which maybe you will start eventually, not at first. Then Twitter is a good way. As basic as maybe the places that you worked before, through word of mouth, you can ask for certain reference because many founders and executive level people kind of know other people. So if you have a
Hmm.
good rapport, you can pretty much seek their reference.
Hmm.
LinkedIn is a good lead generation tool, I would say, but you need to filter it out. Like you need to qualify your leads also. You'll get the leads, but you need to qualify. Apart from it, I think there are other places also like Upwork. There is this freelancer.com is what I've heard. Copy blogger. What is that one? I can't remember one more name, but there are many such platforms where you can find jobs also. But Upwork, I don't trust. Still, it is there. I mean, you
So what
can
is the best tool you use till now?
LinkedIn is pretty much the one that I use because my target audience is there. So the architectural writing and
So
those
how
kind
to
of
find
because
target
my
audience? Like you figure out that I am from architecture. If somebody is in general want to pursue as a content writer, तो कैसे पता चलेगा किसको reach out करना है? Who is probably a founder who would be looking out for the something? What kind of designation or kind of people they can look for? क्या कौन से लोग हैं जो इन चीजों से ज्यादा interact करते हैं?
So firstly, you need to look out what kind of a service you're providing. Is it B2B, which is business to business, or B2C? So if
Hmm.
it is B2C, I think then Instagram becomes one of your places where you can probably pitch your ideas for social media as a marketer or as
Hmm.
a writer. But if
Hmm.
B2B is your deal, then I think they're all sitting on LinkedIn. No matter what you do on Instagram, till date, I haven't generated a single lead from Instagram. I think
Hmm.
one or two at a maximum. I have one
Hmm.
client for Instagram, but most of them are LinkedIn because my clientele is there. So that is what you can do. Also, you can target. Initially, I started targeting companies that I was really interested to work in. So if I'm interested in travel companies, I'll try to find the pinnacles in that, and then I'll try to find other companies related to it which are at my level, which I feel I can achieve. Not
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
dream companies.
Who
So
are
I
the
started
person to
targeting.
you targeted from those companies?
So
किन
yeah,
लोगों?
so I entered the company page and I started looking for people who are under HR, talent acquisition. Maybe,
Hmm.
marketing managers are also many times responsible to hire the content team. So marketing managers, marketing execs, HR managers become my field of people, or maybe writers who are staff writers who are already working in the company. So you just
Hmm.
need to understand the basic structure on whom you will be coordinating, who can be with whose team you can be a part of, and then I used to do a mistake where I used to first approach directly the founders and the executive people, but most of their accounts are maybe not handled by them
Correct.
firstly, and even they won't entertain your thoughts that way, or maybe they're so busy, maybe they'll just communicate to their HR if you are lucky enough. It's
Hmm.
better to find people who are already looking out for people like you, I feel.
Hmm. I think I have a point on saying this. Like, even if you're targeting to a right person, some no, you can find out of people who are active. If it is a LinkedIn platform, probably they are interacting with the things, and that's most. I would say, you can expect the responses quite easy and probably prompt compared to people who are not active. Probably they are looking to the handles like in a month or probably so that's. So I think
Yeah.
this was very enlightening talk for people, and even I got some pointers, some of the very good pointers that I got as a content writer. कभी मेरे को लिखना होगा तो I would just look for these things, and even I'm looking and learning for these things as well. So I believe this talk will help people. This is not something that we are discussing, which is a big success or probably a low success. We are discussing a process or journey, how probably a small technical terms probably can help people not to make same mistakes. Even this is something which is a concern point for some people who are in the content writing space. Now, very important question: how much you charge nowadays? How much you make?
uh, like you want to make or how much I charge?
Let's have both because most of the people would be interested after this कि बना कितना रहा है सामने वाला पैसा, if they have so much to tell how much they are earning and how they are charging.
So I have the what is that buzzword these days, making a six-figure income. Yeah, that kind of a thing. I don't want to be one of those people who talks about all those things and that becomes their marketing module. So I'll
Hmm.
understate that, but that is where I'm at. And at the same time, when it comes to charging, as a freelancer, you have to remember that the charging is like it is going to change client to client.
Hmm.
It will depend on your scope of work. So there is a wide range of charge. Like literally, there's I still charge very low for some clients who require very less work and very high for international clients or clients who require a lot of work. It
Hmm.
differs.
Hmm. Hmm.
Always going to be that. At the same time, the work that I delegate will obviously have a less charge. The work that I handle will have a more charge personally.
Hmm.
So yeah, that
So
answers
how do you say कि a content writer, let's say in general with any specific, can make somewhere around with a good experience and good client and can make somewhere around the money on a monthly basis? Because that will definitely will motivate people to stick to the what they are doing. अगर एक content writer है, अच्छा
Mhm.
content writer है, they are becoming a good now, probably
Mhm.
with your average level or probably somewhat average to your level, कितना बना सकते हैं वो? What figure that you can
I
just give
think
them?
they can aram say they can if they are working in for where there's a demand, like there's a demand in commerce, all those B2B kind of a space. If they're working, earning a six figure is not a big deal, to be honest. If you are sincere about it, if your lead generation is in place, if your quality is at place, uh,
Hmm.
you can make a six figure definitely. But consistently making a six figure is the real deal here
So
in this
when
space.
you average down throughout the year and then you say that okay, छह figure बन रहा है,
Yeah,
that's
you can't say कि okay, I one figure तो अभी मैं you have to be that. But I've seen so many people like called Bani. She's my friend Bani Kaur. She was an architect turned to a SaaS writer, and she is working with such great clients. And within 2 years, she has scaled her business like literally a lot. But
hmm.
it's all her, it's all her how she conducts herself, the kind of upskilling. So that's what I'm telling you. There is no there are people who are still earning very less while being freelancers, but there are people who have scaled like crazy. That's why
Mm,
you can't have. But I can tell you that if you are someone who's ready for the hustle, for the burnouts also, then
mm,
it is much more rewarding than having a full-time job, because the
correct,
scalability here is a lot more, and the scalability is in your hands. Nobody
correct.
tells you. You don't have to ask people for that raise. You decide, and then you act, and maybe or maybe not you get it. So yeah,
Okay.
both.
So if somebody is watching this, probably उसको शुरू करना है content writing, और probably वो उसको थोड़ा बहुत experience है. If somebody is, what do you think they can come to you, probably seek for suggestions if you have enough time to give them an idea. They can come to you. They can interact with you through LinkedIn, whatever platforms.
Yeah, definitely. LinkedIn it is, and I'm also actively looking for people to hire. Yeah, so you can
Okay.
pretty much get in touch with me if you want to on LinkedIn. Saili it is,
Mm,
and I would be very happy to have a conversation. And there have been many people who have helped my journey over this.
mm,
Obviously, I want to give back from my
mm.
end as well. So if there anything if I can do, I would be happy to do it.
Now it's a